This is Richard Greene's video resume part 3. So I stopped the last part 2 segment at the University of Chicago, where I'm standing in front of MBAs. I don't know what educating them is. I'm supposed to educate them, but I don't know what the word education is. And all the books on education I bought, none of them had an unbiased scientific basis for what the good person is, what an educated person is. They were all, Rousseau said educated people are like Rousseau, and Hannah Arendt said educated people are like Hannah Arendt, and blah, 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 blah. Habermas said educated people are like Habermas. Everybody said being educated was being like themselves. So that was garbage. It was all biased, all local, all religious, all bigoted, all political, all self-praising, all narcissistic, and completely ridiculous. I mean, maybe people 100 years ago did that crap, but we don't have to do it now. So I wanted a valid basis of defining what the good person is, what an educated person is. And I created what's called the Excellent Science Research Project at the University of Chicago. You have to understand the great books tradition and the foundational ethos of the University of Chicago, and how redoing Plato and redefining the good empirically instead of philosophically, how very Chicago-like that is as a research project, how pure and quintessentially Chicagoan that is. And so I thought it fit Chicago well. I did it quietly because Harry Roberts at Chicago warned me that if I said anything about it, people would copy it. And so you better wait until you got your first book on it done. And unfortunately, I didn't get a book done during the 7 years I was at Chicago. I just didn't get a book done that fast. And so I had to wait until later to get a book done on it. And so I couldn't talk about it to anybody at Chicago without fear of having it stolen. So I just collected the data, organized my MBAs to get the data, did the interviews, put them in boxes, and as soon as I got graduate teaching assistants, research assistants, I was going to have them analyze the boxes and input it on computers. And then I ended up leaving Chicago after 7 years because my wife got rheumatoid arthritis, was in great pain and very sick. And I was determined to use all of my intelligence to save her life and to save her from a life of pain and degeneration. And by God, we did that. My wife and I, both of us, through very hard mutual work, saved her, cured her of rheumatoid arthritis about 4 years ago. And that's another story. And all these big things on her fingers, gone. And all of her bad blood, gone. Her gamma GTP 700, gone. Back to normal. It's a terrific story. And I'm very proud of the fact that, unlike so many faculty who at that point in their life went and did the career thing for them, and their wife ended up in terrible pain and disability because of that, I had the guts and the integrity to say, I am not ruining my life's body and happiness for the sake of my career. And human careers are nothing. This whole planet's going to be eaten by the sun someday. And who the heck is going to go remember Richard Greene, 99 centuries ago, wrote a good book? it's, if you think you're going to be ringing through all of history for 5,000 centuries, you're a fool. And then making your wife pay the price for that kind of monkey hierarchy status seeking is cruel and inhumane. So I shut down my career, and we went from the University of Chicago, where we had a great time and where my research was really developing profoundly. You can tell from the books I wrote. I wrote 50,000 pages based on that when I was in Japan. And my wife is teaching at the University of Chicago with me. We both had a great time there. That was our happiest time of life. At Regent's Park, we had the only 4-bedroom apartment in Regent's Park because I had so many books. And now I've PDF'd all those books at $1 a book by companies in Tokyo that will PDF a book for $1 a book. So now they're all on discs. That's great. But at any rate, we left the University of Chicago involuntarily because she got so terribly much in pain and sick. Went to Japan to try to help her. She's Japanese. And the only immediate job we could get was from a university that was very lowly ranked. Chicago was 3rd ranked in the world. The university we went to was 463 ranked. So we dropped 463 ranks to go to this university. I don't think any of the people there really appreciated the sacrifice that we had made. And but we were terribly isolated. I don't think I would have written the 50,000 pages I wrote in 14 big books if I hadn't been that isolated. I had nothing else to do in that university. For a long time, for a year or two, I stood and looked at my 22 boxes of notes from my Excellent Science Research Project and hated them because they're covered with dust, and I just dreaded opening the first one and starting. There was nothing else to do there, and eventually I was forced to open those boxes and start inputting the data and organizing the data and building models from the data and writing these books. And so I've written 50,000 pages. These are research books. They are not like normal research books, and some academic publishers will not like the fact that I include practical application stuff, but I'm not going to compromise. I think those academics are sick. I think academic presses are playing a little elitism game, and I'm going to look for the genius who's willing to say the ideas are just as good or better than any ideas on this topic in all of our other books, and the application stuff we'll learn how to stomach without throwing up. And so I'll worry about getting them published by a press gradually. But the most important thing is to write them to my standards, use them in consults and courses in China and places where people are hungry for application, and let the Americans that are so in love with the theory is higher status than application, and application will make us look low status. Let them play their little monkey games alone and let history go by them. So I've written these huge. I went to Japan, went to this university. The classes, no classes, no research, no publishing there. But I had free time and I could write my books there, which I did. As soon as my wife got cured, we left for Tokyo, where we could upgrade our intellectual environments a bit. And then Tokyo has a lot more visitors than Western Japan does, so we could actually meet our old friends and our intellectual friends, and I could rejoin networks that were not available to me in Western Japan, and that I've done. And that's been tremendous. And now I'm building a design business in China, a fashion business in China, a publishing business in China, and I want to do that in Europe, which I've got a foundation for and some friends to help me. And I'm now, one more phase is to do it in part of America. And I want to spend next year going to some conferences in America, making some friends to do that in America too.